Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Apex Racing TV's coverage of the iRacing IMSA Sportscar Championship here at Road Atlanta. Tonight here for round number 9 of the championship. Alongside me tonight is Daniel Lee. Welcome, Daniel. Road Atlanta, one of those tracks that provides some awesome racing from the undulations of the circuit. But what are your thoughts heading into tonight's race?
Yeah, good evening, Scott. Good evening to all the viewers out there. What can you not say about Road Atlanta? It's a phenomenal circuit. For everyone who follows the real world IMSA Championship, this is formerly known as the Petit Le Mans final race of the season. So it's brought up a lot of great racing in real life, even more great racing here on iRacing as well. So I think we're in for a real good treat tonight, especially, as you say, the way the course flows with the undulations as they rise up from turn 1. Down and then drop back down through the S's. So a lot of fun for all the guys out here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Tonight we had a 2-split race, so sadly we haven't got as big a field as we normally have for the championship. But yeah, with this being the top split, certainly looking for some great action tonight between all 3 classes tonight. We've got some more Daytona prototypes, which is always good to see. But also we've got a solid GTE field as well as a decently balanced GT3 field as well.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like, as you say, participation up. I think we're at 4 cars at the moment for the Daytona prototype, which is good to see. GTLM, always action-packed with some really good competitors out there tonight. We're just having a look here at Paul Gallen, but similar to him, John Pisnik out there as well, and Martin Silvassi. So there's 3 very quick out there traditionally, so we'll have to keep an eye on them. And even though it did split, we've still got, what are we up to, 5 out there in the GT3. So a little smaller GT3 field, but good to see some participation still in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Currently on pole, we've got Stolzenberg at the moment, which is very, very interesting to see, given that Blake Neck has been pretty dominant in this championship so far. But with Blake coming across the line now with this second lap of qualifying, we'll see whether he can improve on his 13.58. And he does it in 1 minute 13.2, so good lap for Blake. We've got Stolzenberg coming through the back straight now. Coming up into the turn 10 and turn B chicane. We'll see whether he can improve. We've got Louis Pellegall on the provisional pole at the moment in the GTE on a 1 minute 14.9, so not too much different in terms of times between the GTE and the GT3s, but certainly a little bit of a smaller gap than has been previous.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, traditionally we've seen Blake's kind of had it all his own way, being the only car in the field for the Daytona prototype, so good to see a little bit of competition there. And the times from the first 3 very close together, less than or 0.8 of a second basically separating them at the moment. But as you're saying, Paulo Gallen and John Pisnik very close together, only 0.3 in that at the moment in the GTLM field. So very close times all round. Even the GT3 field quite close together. Those 2 guys there are only separated by about half a second at this moment as well. So times for the first couple of cars in each series very close.
Yeah, absolutely. See, I think it was the Spa round winner in the GTE field, Govan Kenny, currently on a qualifying lap at the moment. He didn't put in a qualifying time last time around, so this lap will have to count if he's able to put in a qualifying time. Also, we got Malik Doy as well. He's about to put in a qualifying time as well. He's been a series regular in the Daytona prototype, so we'll see whether he'll be able to put in a time this lap. Still got under 2 minutes left, so still time for another lap.
And not too bad a time there. He's about 0.7 of a second behind Blake, but good to see him back out again. We saw him last week. Mid-Ohio have a good run, so good to see him back having another drive again. Runs a little wide just through turn 2 there, which is pretty hard blind corner. So turns 2, 3, 4 for anyone who's raced around this circuit, very awkward to get through. And even down through turn 12, as you make that way onto the straight, it's basically one line to get it through. So the guys have got to be pretty committed this whole lap.
Yeah, to see Govankini as well coming through the checkered flag now, and sadly he's not even able to put in the time, so he will start relatively towards the back of the GTE field. But yeah, having said that though, we've got Gogalashvili in the provisional pole for the GT3s at the moment, which is great to see, with himself putting in a 1 minute 18.6 for the 6 tenths clear of Pavlov in second place there.
Yeah, and a little further behind also Ben Rowe. So we had a couple of guys not or haven't set times as yet. Govankini, as we saw before, still hasn't got a lap on him. Tobias Rona, Bailey Sweeney, Jux Swinopol, who we're on board with at the moment, still yet to set a time, and Kristen Madsen. So a few guys out there yet to get a time, but we're coming up to just on 10 seconds to go for qualifying at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Just taking a quick look at the weather before we jump over to the race server, or the race session, sorry. We've got an ambient of 22 degrees, just as we go to flick to replay. Sorry about that. Yeah, replay getting sorted out there, but yeah, so we've got an ambient temperature of 22 degrees with a track temperature of 28, so there's going to be quite a lot of grip out there for the drivers today, which has been fairly surprising, seeing as though we've had some pretty hot temperatures in previous races. But yeah, the wind dying down quite heavily, so not much wind out there, but that we'll have to see how that changes throughout the race. And yeah, so with it being partly cloudy as well, we'll have to see how that will affect the drivers out there as well, as we're about to take you through the grid. So Blackneck starts on pole position for Alpenstars Geodesic Racing with a time of 1 minute 13.199. Alongside him was Konstantin Stoltenberg. Malik Doy finishes in third position, and Brad Klink rounding out the Daytona prototype field. Louis Palagallon starts in fifth, and the pole position for the GTE field. John Piesnik in sixth position. Dominic Ferraris in seventh. Brand von Putten in eighth. Carlos Carbonella in ninth, and rounding out the top 10 is Martin Savasi. Randall M. Sharrett is in 11th. Jesse Telkala in the 12th position. 13, Dan Blake. BSR regular in the BSR MX5 and BSR Pro Series. Ernesto Romero in 14th. Antonio Lag in 15th, and Slaven Kolika in 16th position. Mikhail Regil in 17th, 18th. Ivan Govankini, Tobias Rona in 19th, and Bailey Sweeney in the 20th position. Gia Gogolashvili in the 21st position and in the pole position for the GT3 field. Vlad Pavlov in 22nd, Ben Rowe in the 23rd position, Jacques Swainpole in the 24th position, and rounding out the field is Christian Madsen, that unfortunately did not set a time.
Yeah, so all up 25 cars out on track tonight. Good mix-up of manufacturers all through the field as well. So while we're waiting for this lap to go through, we might just pull that slide up quickly just to give everyone a look at who's having a run. So obviously all Chevys in the Daytona prototype category, but a good mix of Ford, Ferrari, BMW out in the GTLM field. And I think, if I saw correctly, we had a couple of Mercedes and a couple of Audis in the GT3. So good mix of cars in that field also.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see that the Audi's getting the run tonight. I haven't seen it of late in the last couple of rounds, but with the tight and twisty nature, I would expect that the Audi is going to be relatively towards the front.
Yeah, definitely. It seems to have sort of got a little bit better. A couple of seasons ago, obviously, there were some issues with it getting up and over the curbs, but it looks like that's been sort of rectified now. I'm kind of surprised we don't actually see a BMW in the GT3 category tonight, though, but for the cars that are out there, should be certainly good.
Yeah, absolutely. Sadly, with the amount of cars that we have available to us across the three categories, unfortunately, I don't think that it's going to allow us to have a BMW in the GT3 field as well. So, with it being limited to 7 different types of cars, uh, sadly, with there being 4 now in the GTE field, and only 2 being able to been taken up by the GT3, and then obviously the Daytona prototype being 7. So, that's having said that though, coming up to the green flag here for 45 minutes of racing. Blake Neck will take the green flag, and I'll let you call the start.
Green, green, green.
Yeah, I see Blake getting a good jump as the cars come through turn 12 on the opening lap here. Looks like we've got Stolzenberg dropping into second, Doik in third, and Kellick in fourth. All cars getting through pretty comfortably. Paul O'Gallen got a good jump in the GTLM field with John Peasnick behind him and Dominic Ferris in third. So good couple of mix of cars there. And everyone in that field also getting through quite comfortably. They all dropped into single file through turns 2, 3, 4 at the moment. And by the looks, our GT3 category fields have also got off well with Golishvi, Pavlov and Schwippenpol in the first 3 positions for that series, or that category as well.
Yeah, just seen that Lager and Rono were not able to get a decent getaway. You'll see that those two are a little bit further back. You see that they've had a bit of contact, which is unfortunate for those guys, but they'll be looking to recover from their issues early on. But looking up the front, you got Blake Neck being challenged by Stolzenberg. You see that Stolzenberg just ran a little bit too deep through that turn A and turn B chicane, and that's opened that little gap to Neck. Gap at the moment 6/10 on the first lap.
Yeah, a really good jump from Neck there. It's, as you say, very easy to lock a brake or overshoot as you come through that back section through 10 A and B, but looks like Stolzenberg's getting the car back under him now, dropping a little further behind Blake, which probably likely to see given what we saw in qualifying with the pace that Blake had. But these the 4 cars at the moment, reasonably close together. To see Stolzenberg running a little wide on exit through turn 5. Now coming under a bit of fire here from Malik Doi.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't forget that Brad Clink in the 4th position. I see that there's been a little bit of an issue. You see that Bram Van Putten has put it in the wall. See whether we can get a replay of that. Sorry about that. We'll just have to go a little bit further back if we can. Alright, so he's come through the Esser section now on the replay and coming up through turn 5. He's just gotten onto the grass and he's just launched it, and sadly he's found another car, that Ferrari, the number 6 car of Cabanella. So unfortunately for those two to have to exit out of the race, but yeah, sadly those cars are beyond repair from where they are now.
Yeah, a little unfortunate there. It looked like the car wasn't quite turning on the exit of 5 as he went straight on there, but yeah, a little unfortunate for Carlos just to be caught up in that unfortunate incident. But we have a look back here at the GTLM field. Paul O'Gallen starting to build a little bit of a gap now over John Peasnick. The gap at the moment is just on a second at the moment, so car's not too far apart. Dominic Ferris dropped a little further back, 2.8 behind Gallen at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Just got to look a little bit further back. This is the battle for 10th through 15th. Apologies, in the GTE field. But Govan Kenny taking full advantage of that incident that was on the previous lap with Cabanella and Van Putten, so he's up into the 10th position at the moment. He's our biggest mover at the moment in terms of positions gained. So a solid effort there from Keeney, but we know how quick he is from previous races that he's participated in.
Yeah, definitely, and I mean he's going to have a lot of company to keep him going through the night with Martin Silvassi just behind him and Enster Romo just behind in the Porsche as well. So it's a good little four-car train for these guys at the moment. I got word through earlier that one of our participants last week, Anthony Winkelman, on board doing the spotting tonight for Silvassi. So look out for Trick later on in the race, especially with their pit strategy to come through like they normally do. They're very good on managing the fuel. So with the cooler track temperatures we saw, that should help them also.
Yeah, certainly. See whether Silvassi is able to get a run on Keeney this lap, but it looks as though he's a little bit too far back at the moment. Gap to Keeney at the moment, just on half a second, but Romero and Korlika, both in Porsches, I think, behind. They'll be looking to put pressure on Silvassi.
Yeah, definitely. We got a little change of position too, just in front of these guys as well. I think we saw Sharrett and Talaka swapping positions as well. So Sharrett managing to get up and in through turn 10 there. Actually, maybe he dropped the spot, but there's a little bit of battle going on, which is going to continue on for the next lap here as well.
Yeah, certainly. Just going to have a look a little bit further back towards this battle. Korlika and Romero through turn 3. Oh, as we see that Kenny's run off wide at turn 3, so he'll get a slow down penalty for that.
Yeah, I think I actually caught him running a little wide through turn 1 also, so not a great start to this lap for him. He's dropped 3 positions, and that'll help release Silvassi and Romero out of this.
Just going to have a little bit further look back at the GT3 field just quickly. See that Gogolash really has opened up a 1.3 second gap to Pavlov, and then beyond that, Swainpole has a gap of about 12 seconds to the second position in the GT3 category. So gap in GT3 at the moment is still a little bit bigger than we thought, but certainly a little bit of close battles throughout the field as well. But back up to the GTE battle. We'll see that Korlika's trying to hold on to the position between Dan Blake and Regil at the moment, but Korlika's able to hold on through turn 1. They'll have the line for turn 3.
Yeah, it's all very much single file through here, so Dan Blake doing a really good job at the moment. Still challenging Korlika, and just behind him we got Regal and Sweeney not really losing touch of this little battle, so there's a chance for these guys too to jump a couple of spots should there be a little missed opportunity here from
Yeah, just going to have a quick look on board between Dan Blake and to see whether he can catch up to Korlika. So what sort of top speeds he's hitting at the moment. So it looks as though that it was fairly evenly matched actually, with Korlika, I think, running a little bit less downforce trim to aid him in his defense up into turn A and turn B. So yeah, we'll see how that will play out. I know that the drive can be very powerful, and also that the Ferrari is one of the quickest in a straight line. But whether Blake did not get a good exit last time around, that may have actually hindered him on that occasion.
Yeah, looking at the way Blake was able to get out through turn 7 there onto the back straight, the car looked pretty good. He's got a big slide going on here, and that'll drop him a position down behind, who is that, Bailey Sweeney in the Porsche there. So the Ferrari looked quite good in the top speed down the back, but struggled a little bit getting off the corners off 10B there. And we saw Korlika get a little bit of a gap, but now he's going to have to really regroup, refocus, and see what he can do on Blaney going a little bit going a little defensive into turn 10 here, but that Porsche should get really good traction over the hill.
Yeah, certainly. Just going to have a bit of an update in the Daytona prototype field. Blake Neck, our current overall leader, has opened up a 5.5 second gap to Stolzenberg, so it's a fairly commanding lead at the moment. His last lap time was good 3/10 quicker than Stolzenberg last time around, so he's definitely putting the hammer down, as is per usual from Blake.
Yeah, it's something we've kind of come to expect now, especially over the last handful of races that we've been watching on him. If he has had a few cars out there, he's been able to gap them pretty substantially early on and continue to build that throughout the race. But even the battle here for second and third in this class is still not too far away. Stolzenberg got a 3-second lead over Malik Doy just behind him, so that gap is building a little further, and Brad Klink a little further back, 7 seconds off Malik. So the guys are reasonably close together. We've probably got overall a gap of, where are we, 15 seconds at the moment, so not too far apart for what we'd expect this early on, but Blake doing another good job.
Yeah, certainly. Just going to look a little bit further back to see that Sheraton Tokala at the moment still very, very close. This gap hasn't gone away too much. Still at just over half a second at the moment.
Yeah, not too far behind that. Also, you've got that little train of Martin Silvassi, Romero, and Keeney starting to all close in on this group as well. So this might open up into a little 5-car battle in the not too distant.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see that they're coming through turn 9 now. Well, turn 8. I think I sadly don't remember which classification those corners are, whether you would class that little sweeper as a turn 9. But having said that though, Keeney's very, very close to the back of Romero at the moment, but sadly not close enough to make a move into turn A and turn B.
Sharrett just ahead of these guys, also getting up on the back there. But I think the closest battle, as we're focusing right now, is still Romero and Keeney, and Keeney having to work hard to get back up after that little lose that he had earlier on.
Yeah, it was a pretty costly move, lose there for Keeney, but as you see, he goes very deep into turn 3 right there. Caught the outside curve there and had to back out of it. Open up that gap again to about half a second. But having said that though, with looking at the lap times between Silvassi and Sharrett at the moment, this gap is staying relatively even.
Yeah, it certainly is, and in the guys at the moment in this category, second down to 10th in this field, are about the 116 in the GTLM field. It looks like Lewis Scallon is still the only car in the 15, so setting a pretty good time, but we'll see how that plays later on with the tyre strategy. But Keeney getting back up into the draft. Let's have another dive in through turn 10. It looks like a little change of position too, just ahead for Sharrett and Toluca, those guys switching positions for 8th and 9th. But Keeney with a nice drive here, up through turn 12, and should be able to make a move up into turn 1.
Yeah, just looking further back up to that battle now. Just having a look at the lap times before between Silvassi and Sharrett to see whether this gap was closing up. But it looks as though that Sharrett has made a good move, and he's up into the 4th position in GTE and finds himself 8th overall. So solid position gained for Sharrett there.
Yeah, definitely. And while we were watching that too, Keeney managed to get his move completed on Romero as well. So he'll find himself now starting to close up on the back of Martin Silvassi ahead in that Trixton Sports BMW.
Yeah, I see that also Bailey Sweeney as well is within 0.3 of a second to Dan Blake. See whether he can get a good run and go from move into turn 10, or whether Blake will defend this. Sweeney with a look up the inside, but sadly not close enough this time to make a move, but looks as though that he'll be putting all sorts of pressure on him for the next good few laps or so, I hope, and hopefully he'll be able to make the move up into the 14th position overall.
Yeah, definitely. And we've also got Regal coming up onto the back of this little group as well. He started out of pit lane, I believe, or had those dramas lap 1. So slowly making his way back up through the field now, and not too far off this little battle pack.
See that Silvasi's managed to close up to Tokala as well, so this little 4-car train's certainly hotted up. See that Keeney's closed in pretty quickly as well, so Kenny will be looking for a move up the inside fairly quickly, but with the aid of the Ferrari's tow that Silvasi will have, see whether Kenny can make a move.
Yeah, Keeney in a really good position here to go up the inside. See him duck down now. I don't think Silvasi will challenge him right now, but Keeney gets that move done through turn 10A and gets a good little drive out of 10B. Silvasi caught the curve a little bit, which probably didn't help the traction out of there, but these four pretty closely matched as far as lap times and pace are concerned at the moment.
Yeah, certainly. See that gap between Blake and Sweeney has opened up to about 7 tenths of a second last time round, so a little bit of a mistake there from Sweeney last time round, which just opened that gap. 16.6 last time for Blake, whereas Sweeney put in a 17 flat, so still relatively similar in terms of best lap time to their last lap, but still the pace is falling away just that little bit for the drivers out there.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like at the moment, based on performance, the car to have out here looks to be the Porsche in the GTLM field. It seems to have really good traction off the line. Looks like we've got Keeney looking for another move up into 10A, up the inside, job done. Thank you very much. So good move there, that Porsche working extremely well, and he'll now turn his sights to Sharrett just ahead in that Ferrari.
Yeah, certainly. We're just going to have a quick look up the front for the GTLM field. Louis Paolo Gallon has opened up a 3.8 second lead over John Peasnick, so Gallon's been certainly very, very dominant this race with only 17 minutes of lap, so we'll see what kind of a gap he can pull. But having said that though, is he running on a lower fuel strategy? We don't know until they come through the pit lane one time that they are mandatory, that they will have to do during this race, sorry. But yeah, I think having seen Lou Paolo's consistency in the Samurza's Asia series, also I think he was in the Ford GT as well, so he was very, very dominant in that race. But see that Keeney's moved up past Sharrett, so 3 from 3 over the past 3 laps. So Kenny's moved himself up into the 4th position in GTE, and he'll have to try and close that 8.5 second gap to Ferraris to try and find himself on the podium.
Absolutely, that's a big gap to pull in on Farris, but you know, looking at the way the car's handling at the moment, he's certainly capable of being able to do it. Looks like we're going to see Silvasi starting to get a move lined up on Toluca as well, but I'm going to be interested to see how Keeney goes now that he's got that fresh air, what he can do with that Porsche. But yeah, Silvasi hasn't really probably come on as much as I would have expected so far, maybe playing the long game or looking to make a bit of an advantage with the fuel strategy later on, but BMW seems to be struggling just a little bit off the corner at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Tokala at the moment has closed in to 2.5 tenths of a second on Sharrett, We'll see whether he's able to close in. But also, you've got Silvassi as well, closing in very, very rapidly, but sadly not able to close in far enough. They're going to stay level pretty much through 10A and 10B. See Sweeney as well, still not able to get that gap closed, but Blake locking up that little bit into 10A. Will have compromised him a little bit until Colour in.
Yeah, it's an early stop for Talaka here. Well, we're on the 20-minute mark just about now, so probably the start really of the window to be open for these guys here. So once he drops out, we'll get a pretty representative time of stationary pit stops and how he goes, but that will help Silvassi out a little bit there, who was starting to get ready for a bit of a move.
Yeah, certainly. See the gap for Kenny and Ferraris in just one moment when I'm able to bring up the graphic. So Ferraris in the 4GT, still holding a 8-second gap, but as you see, over the last couple of laps he's lost a fairly significant amount of time. But yeah, once Kenny crosses the line, as he's about to right now, we'll see how much time he's lost this lap. Only just under a tenth of a second, so I reckon that gap at the moment will hold station quite nicely at the moment. So
yeah, I don't think there'll be a massive change, and it looks like the times are starting to equalise pretty well. First, probably noticing a little bit in the relatives and having to respond to Keeney, who's extending quite a big lead already. 2 seconds is broken away from Sharrett after making that move past only a couple of laps ago. So the Porsche is certainly working very well around this circuit, which we've seen that in other races here a couple of years back, most notably probably in the Petit Le Mans, where I think it was Nick Tandy was able to do a phenomenal job in the Porsche, even take it up to the Daytona prototypes in that field. So either rain or sunshine, the Porsche seems to be a very capable car around this circuit.
yeah, certainly you can see that Romero's having a look on Silvassi, but not close enough this time around. Gap at the braking zone was just under a tenth and a half, so Romero putting all sorts of pressure on Silvassi as they're coming up to about half race distance very, very soon.
Yeah, it might be a great time to jump actually on board with Romero here, and we'll actually get a good look at how he gets this Porsche around the field with a couple of cars in front. Might give the viewers some really good understanding. One thing I did notice from the onboard there with Romero, he's got a very long fifth gear in that car, which may not actually be helping him a lot down the back straight. He was very late to take the upshift into sixth there, just before the dive down into turn 10. So the car looking quite good in the long run, maybe a little harsh off the corners, but all in all, the pace is still very consistent from him.
Yeah, so we saw that last time he went very, very deep under the turn 5 where we just exited now, so that probably lost him a little bit of the time that he was up on Silvassi, but having said that though, yeah, Silvassi still within 0.4 of a second of Sharrett.
And one thing I have noticed too with Silvassi at the moment is the lap time consistency. Only about 1/10 of a second slower than his fastest so far. So for what we're seeing in race pace from him, very, very consistent at the moment. Just for the viewers too, as we mentioned, we had Toluca come in for his stop earlier on. So for anyone interested in the times, it was a 11-second stationary and about 40-second transit time to get through the pit lane here at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, so we've past the halfway point now. Give you a bit of an update on the standings as we have them now. Blakeney just putting a lap on one of the GTE cars. He currently leads by over 7 seconds on Stolzenberg. Malik Doy in the 3rd position. Louis Palagellon sits in the GTE lead at the moment. John Piesnik currently sits in 2nd with Brad Klenk, the 4th position in Daytona Prototypes. Just having a little battle there with Piesnik. But Ferraris in the 7th position, still 8 and a bit seconds ahead of Kenny, so he's been able to at least hold that gap over Kenny, and then Sharrett and Silvassi running out the top 10.
Yeah, while we go through that, looks like we've got a couple more guys starting to come in for their stops. Klink come out of 4th in the DPI category for his stop there, and looks like Madsen is in the GT3 category.
Yeah, certainly. So still got 4 runners in the GT3 category at the moment. See that Dan Blake's had a bit of an issue. We'll see what happened to him. So he's coming through turn 1, letting Blake neck past. Oh, and he's just lost the back end. So an unfortunate mistake there for Blake as he runs wide, and that'll allow Sweeney and Regiel to move up into the 12th and 13th position respectively.
And it is an easy thing to do, especially when you've got cars trying to come down the inside of you into turn 1. Very easy to lock a wheel and run it wide. One thing we did miss before as well, there was a change of position for 8th and 9th outright with Silvassi and Sharrett as well. Silvassi managing to get a bit of a gap there, and looks like we've got Romero dropping in from 10th overall for his one and only pit stop tonight also.
Yeah, see that Neck, our overall race leader, is into the pit lane as well, so followed by Stolzenberg. So it looks as though that everyone's starting to file their way through the pit lane. Road Atlanta being typically one of the high fuel burn circuits with the nature of how much full throttle you are actually using on this track. See that Malik Doy has inherited the lead as we through the pit stop phase.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the fuel burn, because I was saying we noticed quite different last week out at Mid-Ohio was the guys were able to make them run very long into the race. We saw Richard Westbrook, factory Ford driver, was I think the last to pit in the race last week as well, almost near the end of the race. So see the guys come in midpoint to early mid-race. Traditional what we've seen throughout the year so far, but very different to what we saw last week out at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from memory, the last driver to pit was, I think, 38 minutes into the stint. So incredible fuel burn numbers from those guys that were able to make it that far. But obviously with the different nature of Road Atlanta compared to Mid-Ohio, we won't be seeing those fuel burn numbers, sadly, as race leader Malik Doy into the pit lane.
Yeah, and once Malik takes his stop, we should see Blake re-inherit the lead. I'd expect Malik to drop back in behind Stolzenberg, and those guys will resume position as
Yeah, certainly see that Stolzenberg's coming through the final corner now. Malik is still in the pit box at the moment and has left now, so we'll see what sort of pit pit lane time. It was good, 1.7 seconds quicker than Blake next, so a good stop for him. But noticing that on our timing that the pit stop time was about 1.8 seconds quicker than Blake next, so we'll see whether he was able to save that amount of fuel throughout the race or whether that was a bit of a mixed calculation there. But hopefully he'll be able to make the end of the race from there. It's Sharrett into the pit lane.
Yeah, and at this point we're nearing 15 minutes to go, so 2/3 race distance under the belt right now. So most of the guys have got their stops in. We've still got Paulo Gallen to come in for his stop, Piesnik, Ferris, so the top three in GTLM, and that will go all the way through to Dan Blake, who we saw having a little bit of an off track earlier on. Actually, he's had a couple throughout the race, still yet to make his stop, but noticing too, Brad Clank, after he had his pit stop, still struggling to make his way back up to towards the other GTL Daytona prototype cars.
Yeah, I see that he had a 18-second longer pit lane time, but he had a 12-second extra pit stop time as well. So whether that was a factor of tyres or extra fuel taken, we'll have to potentially find out what the go was after the race. You see that a string of GTEs coming in the pit lane. We've got Piesnik, Ferraris, Keeney and Kaluka into the pit lane right now.
Yeah, and that will leave, I think we've got now 4 cars still yet to make their stops. So that'll have Paulo Gallen, Silvassi, and who is that? Dan Blake yet to make their stops. And once those 3 cycle through, that will be the entire field going through. Looks like Keeney was able to actually jump. Who was that he managed to get up? He managed to jump Ferris. So Keeney doing a really good stop there. That was not long at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that whether that was a mistake there from Dominic. I see that good 6.5 to 7 second extra stop time and 11 seconds through the pits extra that he lost. So crucial mistake there for Ferraris, but yeah, that's allowed Keeney to move up into the provisional 3rd place in GTE. See that Gallen and Silvassi in the pit lane right now.
Yeah, I was going to point that out, that those 2 cars have come in. So that'll leave Dan Blake out there for his final stop. I'm not too sure whether Ferris, I would assume that he did make an error with the fuel there, because that's quite a lot longer to be stationary for. The lap times he was doing wouldn't really indicate that there was any issue as far as car performance on it. So not too sure what happened there, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Looks like Piesnik just contacting a little hip and shoulder too with a Ferrari up in turn 3.
Yeah, we'll have to find out who that was. I think that might have been... wasn't any of the GT3 cars, but see that there's a big train of cars heading through the S's right now. You've got to be careful heading through here. I see that these codes have been quite deadly so far, especially with Van Putten early in the race as well. He only managed to get to lap 2 before crashing out, sadly.
Yeah, when you're on the downhill run through the S's, it is a one lane road through there. Looks like Gavoloshki will just step aside, let the guys through in the GTLM cars, but very hard to make an overtake. I saw Blake having to follow in behind along with these guys here. So everyone managed to sort themselves out on the backstraight here, and it'll resume racing. But a good little battle starting to kick up again with Sharrett and Taluka. Those guys have been at it all night.
Yeah, I was just going to also point out that Pavlov's been able to close up the gap as well. So this battle in the GT3 field for the class lead is only 1.6 seconds at the moment, so we'll have to keep our eye on the battle in the final 11 a bit minutes of this race.
Absolutely. It's there's a slow forward off on the distance there. I'm not sure who that was running wide, but yeah, very good to see an Audi up there. I know you and I both have a bit of a soft spot for that car, so good to see it getting a bit of a run and up in the field. Another Audi, very slow through turn 5 there. I'm not sure. Or Govleski into the wall as well, so didn't see what happened there, but he's caught the wall and lost the lead of the GT3 position.
Yeah, I see that must have been one of the back markers. It must have been Madsen that was trying to let him through, but I think Gogolashvi has misjudged it a little bit and is flashing the headlights. Probably in a little bit of disgust, but yeah, the car of Madsen has let the leader through in GT3, and also with Swinepole going through as well. So something that yeah, Pavlov has definitely been able to profit off of, and he finds himself in the GT3 lead at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got himself a good little gap up as a result of that, 2.5 seconds now over Gogolashvi. So, yeah, not where you want to see a slow car on the exit of turn 5 there, which he's not going to be happy about at all. So he's going to have to get the head down and push back on. But you know, GT3 cars so close together, there's not much in them at all.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just going to focus our attention to that battle between Romero and Sharrett. This battle's been on for a good at least 1.5 to 2 laps. Romero getting a good exit out of the turn 8 and 9 complex. See whether he's going to be close enough. He'll have to go to the outside for turn 10A and 10B. He's going to have his nose in front, but that Ferrari there on the inside there, he's going to have to try and go around the outside, and very, very good move. Threw it up the inside of the middle part of the chicane there, and finds himself in the 10th position.
Yeah, fantastic job there from Romero. Wasn't too sure he'd pull it up on the outside. We don't see a lot of overtakes being done in that part of the track on the outside, but managed to get the car up, stuck quite well, and got a really nice drive out. Sharrett hasn't really fallen off here, still sitting just on 3/10 behind, so should get a nice tow as they exit turn 7 to make their way on that back straight, but the Ferrari should be pretty quick in the line there. He's got Ferris just behind him as well. So Ferris fallen a long way back, as we saw with that longer fuel stop also.
Yeah, certainly. One thing I have noticed was Piesnik is behind Govan Keeney, so I'm not sure what's happened to Piesnik there, but Keeney's been able to manage to jump up into the 2nd position in class. It's been a great effort from him.
Yeah, what was on there? Got a follow up on did a 16.7 versus 16.2 from Keeney, so only half a second slower, but that's a change of position. So you know, Keeney now finds himself in 2nd outright in GT.
Yeah, I'm just going to see if I can bring up the lap time history for both of the drivers over the past 5 laps.
Yeah, and while you do that, actually, last time by for John Piesnik was a bit of a shocker. It was a 1:28.9, so looks like he's run it wide somewhere on track there. Not entirely sure where, but that's a big difference when you consider 13 seconds extended in that lap.
Also noticed that Stolzenberg has just found himself in the pit lane as well, so he's had a bit of an incident. I'll see whether we can bring that up quickly. So it's just trying to lap some GT and GT3 traffic. Gets it up on the inside, but yeah, a little bit of contact with that Mercedes has found himself turned around, and he gets into the side of was that Malik Doy as well, trying to come through as well. So An unfortunate mistake there from Stoltenberg. Probably just needed to leave a little bit more room, but it looks as though that he's got a. Oh, it looks from the outside there that he had some steering damage, but it looks as though that he's got that back under control.
And still stationary in the pit lane, nearly 60 seconds at the moment, but looks like the car that he initially got spun through was by Pavlov, the leader in the GT3 category. So that was not long after we saw the change of position between Pavlovsky and Gogolesh. So not what he would have wanted to see there. We jump on with Martin Silvassi, who finds himself still fourth in class at the moment, and where are we now? 5 seconds behind John Peasnick's head.
Yeah, absolutely. Just got to cycle back through Dan Blake and Bailey Sweeney at the moment. This battle for the 13th and 14th position. See that they put a lap on that yellow Mercedes. But Blake been able to keep touch with Sweeney over the past few laps and through the pit stop phase, and we'll see whether he's able to get through this time around. So
Ferrari looking very racy on the way down into turn 10, gets the move done pretty comfortably. Is actually able to almost get back onto racing line to take the braking zone there. So Ferrari really trimmed out and got good top speed.
yeah, certainly. As I was looking at was keeping an eye on the timing screens before this move, so that Romero and Ferraris had a bit of an incident. We'll see if we can go back to that. So I see that is Malik Doy trying to put in an overtake, and the two just getting into each other a little bit, and sadly the 4GT of Ferraris has fallen back to the 12th position.
That was a little bit clumsy there by both drivers. I think Romero probably had a little bit, or could have left a little more room on the inside there instead of turning Ferris there. But Ferris should be able to regroup and come back through. He does find himself down a spot behind Kaluka and currently 8 seconds behind. So a little bit of work to do to get back up to Romero here now, but he'll be pretty dirty on himself for that. Looks like we've got Sweeney and Blake still going at it. That battle down to 0.3 of a second. So Sweeney, looking to get a bit of a move done and redress that position over Dan Blake ahead of him.
Yeah, certainly. Just come to about 3 minutes to go, so we've got about, I'd say, another 2.5 laps at the minimum, plus 1 lap, so potentially another 3 laps on the cards here. See that Blake Neck at the moment is coming up through the back straight right now, up into 10A and 10B. So see when he crosses the line in terms of time, to see whether it'll be 2 laps or 3. It's going to cross at 42.41, so that's going to be, I would say, 2 laps to go from where we are now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just keeping an eye on how Blake's going with that car. Still looking very consistent this far into the race, 43 minutes down. And a pit stop. The car looking very, very good out of corners. It's not moving around too much. Looks pretty comfortable up on the curbs as we see him now, making his way through turn 5. Not a lot of movement in it at all. So got that car really well dialed in. Just behind him, Malik Doy, 23 seconds further back. But a little bit of surprise. We've got Paulo Gallen up into 3rd outright and first in the GTLM category as well. So good to see a little bit of variety there.
Yeah, certainly we'll see that Pearson's been able to close up on the back of Keeney as well. So this battle's certainly hotted up over the course of the last lap or so. Not sure whether Keeney had a mistake within the last 2 or 3 laps, but pardon me, it's Pearsnick is pretty much all over the back end of the toe at the moment. But unfortunately not close enough to have a look at the back of Keeney at the moment. Taking a massive amount of curb on that second part of the chicane. It's just going to open up that gap even more.
Yeah, Fro a little bit of a step out, as you say, getting off the curb there. Lap time for both the guys going through last time. Keeney, a smidgen quicker in a 16.5, playing a 16.7 for Peasnick there. So not a lot in it between these two cars at the moment. If anything, the Ferrari looks a little unsettled on the curbs, but certainly got the pace, and it's something we've sort of seen from Pisnick in other series. He's very quick in the cars he does run. I know most notably was, I think, the Geodesic GT series. I think he actually ran the Ford in that category last time that was out and did very, very well in it. So good to see him with a bit of a change in the Ferrari and not letting go.
Yeah, absolutely. As we've got about 5 seconds left on the clock now, so with Blake Neck coming around the final chicane right now, see that he will take the checkered flag for round number 9 of the IMSA Sportscar Championship here at Road Atlanta. So he'll make it 9 from 9 here, and congratulations to him. We see that we've got a lot of time before we get Louis Palais to come across the line, but Brad Klink finishes in 3rd position, and on the final podium position in the Daytona prototype field. See that we've got the cars of Piesnik and Kenny coming across the line as well. Corluka coming across the line to finish in 11th place. Got cars pretty much all over the field at the moment. It's a little bit of an issue trying to keep up with it all, but Sweeney coming across the line now to finish in 14th. Let's find out where Louis Paolo is at the moment. He's coming across the final chicane now, and he'll take 2nd overall.
Yeah, and I did notice just on that final lap before Blake crossed the line, we also had Doy come in for a 2nd stop as well, so probably very close on the fuel limit for Doy. He will still take 3rd outright behind, or actually 2nd outright, sorry, behind Blake Neck, and Brad Klink just behind him in 3rd outright. So great job from Paul O'Gallen to take 2nd outright in the GTLM category.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to sort out a little issue that I had, but yeah. So with the field now, we see that pretty much everyone has come across the line now, so we'll be able to bring you the final race results here for round number 9 of the IMSA Sportscar Championship. So Blake Neck takes the overall win. Louis Gallen takes the 2nd overall position, but crucially the 1st position in the GTE category. Malik Doy finishes running out the overall podium. Brad Klink finishes 4th overall and 3rd in the Daytona prototype field. Boban Kenny, a great recovery from him, moving up 13 positions from his original start position. Finishes 5th. John Piesnik had a little bit of an issue at towards the latter 3rd of the race, but still finishes on the podium in GTE. Martin Savassi, a strong race for him. Finishes 7th. Jesse Tokala finishes 8th. Randall Sharrett had a pretty good race throughout the field today. Finishes 9th, and Ernesto Romero runs at the top 10. Slaven Korluka finishes 11th. Dominic Ferraris, with that contact in the latter part of the race, sadly finishes 12th. But a great and strong performance from him nonetheless in the middle and early part of the race. Dan Blake finishes 13th. Bailey Sweeney finishes 14th, and Mikhail Regul rounds out the top 15. Konstantin Stolzenberg finishes 16th, 2 laps down, and the GT3 winner finishing in 17th overall was Vlad Pavlov. 18th was Gio Gokolashvili. 19th, Jacques Swainpole in 19th, and running out the top 20 was Christian Madsen. And I think he was the first retiree, sadly, with 11 laps to lead. Antonio Lago in 21st, Carlos Cabanella in 22nd, Tobias Rona in 23rd, Ben Rowe 24th, and Brian Van Putten, with that crash on the turn 5. I think it was exiting the S's on lap 2. Sadly finishes in 25th position.
It looks like we got, I'm assuming Brad jumped into the interview area there. So Brad finished third outright in the Daytona prototype category tonight. So we might bring him up and get his thoughts on how the race unfolded. G'day, Brad. Welcome to the Apex Racing commentary box, mate. Congratulations, third outright tonight. How'd you find it out there?
Yeah, it was obviously a challenge, given I only just got the car midnight last night. But you just got to get in and have a go, and I just wanted to encourage other people to get in and drive the DP, because I've seen the broadcast and Blake's been doing it solo most races, so I thought, like, it can't hurt, just get in there and have a go, eh?
Yeah, definitely. It was good to see. I think we had 3 other cars out there, so 4 in total in the Daytona prototype category. So great to see a little bit of variety out there tonight. But yeah, give us a bit of rundown on your race tonight. Looked like some good opportunities, maybe a little long in the pit stop there. So love to know sort of how that unfolded for you. But overall, yeah, how did you find the race?
Yeah, I didn't think I'd be able to keep them in sight, but they were kind of on the horizon for longer than I thought they would be, so that was promising. But then just got a little bit scrappy, made a few mistakes. I hadn't really felt the car much on low fuel, and it just gets a bit skatey. So particularly under brakes, the front feels quite light, and not having ABS makes it a bit more of a challenge. So, but yeah, it was definitely fun, and I was trying to get through the traffic because I made a mistake going in the pit entry, and I'd had to spin earlier, so I lost a bit of time, and I was back in the GCE field. And I didn't want to mess up their battle, so I was trying to be cautious as I was coming through, and not disturb what they were doing as well, because I wasn't really racing for a position or anything. So it was just get experience in the car, and hopefully not ruin anyone else's race. So hopefully that was achieved.
Yeah, well, I think looking at what we saw pace-wise from yourself tonight, very consistent out there. I think, as you say, it's a hard car to sort of get set up around here, especially if you've come out of the GT3s or other cars with the ABS. Certainly takes a bit of getting used to, but take nothing away from what you did tonight, mate. Great effort, and hopefully we'll get to see you back out in the preceding weeks. But before we let you go and enjoy the celebrations afterwards, if you got anyone you wanted to give a bit of a shout out to at all?
Just the guys who have helped me out with setting up a new team, Prestissimo Esports, and we've got a small sponsor on board, Digiman, which you might have seen on the car tonight. And yeah, if anyone's interested, just look for Prestissimo Esports on Facebook. We are looking for Australian and New Zealand drivers. We're not obviously looking for performance at this point. It's just build a team, get some camaraderie happening, and kind of focusing on endurance first. We just did the Nürburgring 24 on the weekend and got a good chunk of experience in that. So yeah, if anyone's interested, just hit us up on Facebook.
Fantastic, mate. Well, yeah, congratulations on the run tonight, and we'll look forward to seeing you out again next week.
Cheers, guys. See ya.
And yeah, that was a good run all around. Doesn't look like we've got anyone else coming up, Scott. So
yeah, absolutely. We're just going to bring up the schedule for the following rounds of the IMSA Sportscar Championship here on Apex Racing TV. We have, if I can bring it to live, as it's not letting me do that, sadly. We've got the next round of the championship we'll be heading to, I think will be, once it loads, that will be Daytona Road. So for those that have had massive experience in the Daytona 24 in the, I think it was the late part of January, so there should be a massive turnout hopefully for that one. But yeah, what are your thoughts heading into the next round of the championship?
yeah, I think Daytona is a bit of a favourite, as we saw earlier in the year. You had the 24-hour back at the start of the year, so guys that do run it consistently or have ever driven it probably really have their eye in for how they want to get around on this circuit. So the racing should be quite quick. I'd expect to see a lot of cars reasonably trimmed out, and this is probably where we'll get probably our biggest disparity, other than Spa, of what we can see in performance between the three categories out there.
Yeah, certainly. I'm just going to bring up the next broadcast coming up on Apex Racing TV as well. We've got the VRS GT broadcast here for round number 9. And that will be at Kota, and that will be at 18 GMT for that one. Also, we've got the BSR MX5 Pro Series for round number 9 at Okayama, and that will be at 19:15 GMT. And then on the Thursday, we have the BSR TC Pro Series in the Kia for round number 6 at Okayama as well. So that will be on Thursday at 19:10 GMT. On Saturday, we've got the Simracers Asia GTE Series, and that will be there for round number 6 at the Nürburgring GP layout. So with the Nürburgring 24 that Brad mentioned just in his interview, that will be a one to watch as well, but that will be on the GP layout rather than the full Nordschleife and VLN configuration. And then on the Monday night, the following Monday night, we have the BSR MX5 Monday Cup for round number 10 at Virginia International Raceway. That will be one to watch as well. And then we'll be back here for round number 10 at the Daytona International Speedway for the round number 10, the IMSA Sportscar Championship.
Certainly some great viewing coming up for everyone. So just be sure to stay tuned to the Apex Racing TV YouTube channel, and as the races do come up, you can always find highlights for that up on the Facebook page.
Yeah, absolutely. We've most of the broadcasts we've been able to multi-stream on YouTube, also Twitch and Facebook as well. So you'll be able to find us on multiple platforms there. I know that on the Twitch page we have our current schedule that goes up live on Twitch as well. So should be able to update those on the various platforms as well. But yeah, I think that will conclude the broadcast for tonight for round number 9 of the IMSA Sportscar Championship here at Rad Atlanta. So on behalf of Daniel Leap, my name is Scott Newton, and we hope to catch you during the week for one of the following broadcasts. But if not, certainly for round number 10 at Daytona International Speedway. So take care, and we'll see you next time.